Y'all saw the title, you saw the thumbnail, you saw the news. Y'all know what this is about. Damian Lillard has been finally traded from the Portland Trail Blazers and is officially a Milwaukee Buck paired up with Giannis Antetokounmpo. This is, as much as you're shocked, I'm shocked too. I found out the news when I was in class, and when we saw the notification from Woj, everybody stopped. We didn't even expect the Milwaukee Bucks to be in the running to get Damian Lillard, but lo and behold, they're there. And they now have Damian Lillard paired up with Giannis Antetokounmpo and Chris Middleton. That is a crazy team to deal with. With this trade, so many dominoes in the NBA have fallen over. We're gonna talk about every single one of these dominoes that now affect each and every team in the NBA right now with this insane duo, which is now in Milwaukee. Let's get right into it. First, we gotta talk about the trade details, and this is a 3-team trade that involved the Suns, Blazers, and the Bucks. The Bucks received Damian Lillard, as we all know. The Blazers received Jrue Holiday, DeAndre Ayton, and 3 first-round picks. One of them is an unprotected first-round pick in 2029. And Phoenix Suns received Yusuf Nurkic, Grayson Allen, Keon Johnson, and Nasir Little to add to their team as well. But we're gonna talk about the Bucks first. First and foremost, if 24 hours ago you didn't think the Milwaukee Bucks were a top 3 team in the NBA, best believe that has to have changed, and they're not top 3 after picking up Damian Lillard onto their team. When we talk about Damian Lillard, we all know how great of a player he is. We talk about a guy who's arguably a top 10 player in the game right now, a top 3 point guard in the game right now, one of the best offensive engines that we've seen over the past few years in his time in Portland, a guy who can stretch the floor, a guy who's one of the best 3-point shooters in the game, a guy who can play make, a guy who can score in bunches. We know what Dame time is about. Over the past 2 seasons, we haven't been able to see him play in postseason basketball due to injuries and due to the roster construction there in Portland that wasn't readily available for him to succeed and really contend in the Western Conference and make a playoff run. But coming to Milwaukee, to be featured with a lineup that involves defenders, guys who can defend on the ball, and a guy named Giannis Antetokounmpo, a 2-time MVP. That is an offensive duo that can cause so much damage in the NBA. You talk about a guy in Damian Lillard who can shoot from damn near 40. And Giannis Antetokounmpo, when he gets into the restricted area, you're either going to foul him or you're going to be a highlight on Bleacher Report. And I haven't even mentioned the other players on the team that they kept, because remember, they gave up Jrue Holiday and Grayson Allen to get Damian Lillard. That is a steal of a pickup, because you still have Chris Middleton who can work in the off-ball actions. You have the main primary defenders worrying about Damian Lillard stretching the floor. You have to worry about Giannis Antetokounmpo and sending a double whenever he gets to the restricted area. Chris Middleton, who we've seen is able to get his own buckets when healthy, it's going to be very, very easy for him to get into a rhythm on offense. Not to mention all the other pieces that they also have on their team as well. Shout out to the front office, because Giannis Antetokounmpo over the past few weeks has mentioned that he wants to continue winning, trying to play for championships. And he's also said that if it's not there in Milwaukee, his main goal is chasing the Larry O'Brien trophy. And what does the Milwaukee front office do? They make the first move to get Damian Lillard, a top 10 player, the best player Giannis has ever played with, and brought him to Milwaukee. It's insane. It's perfect. It's shout out to them. Now, of course, losing Jrue Holiday, we're gonna talk about the defensive stuff. I do think that it's gonna be something they're gonna have to look at. They may look to see if they can add in some more defensive presence, especially in the backcourt. But I think Javon Carter has proven to be a very, very good solid backup point guard that can aid in that area. The Milwaukee Bucks had to make a move. Giannis Antetokounmpo played his cards right, and many people were mad at the fact that Giannis said, "Hey, I want to go win where I can win," and people thought he was running from the grind. The Milwaukee Bucks front office weren't playing no games. They brought in the best player that they could bring in, and now they have a team that has a great shot at winning a championship this year if all their cards fall together. I like this team a lot. We know how great of a clutch player Chris Middleton can be. We know how great Damian Lillard can be, especially as an offensive engine. The going gets tough. You still have Giannis Antetokounmpo, who was proven to be a 2-time MVP award winner, Finals MVP, and an NBA champion. And you still kept a lot of what your team was already last year. The team is a little bit older. You can't say that this is not a great move by the Milwaukee Bucks. Great move again. Before I get into what the Blazers got, I gotta talk about one specific team out there, and that's the Miami Heat. Miami, what's good, fam? I'm not gonna lie to you. Over the past few seasons, there have been multiple all-star caliber players that have been available for you guys to go ahead and grab. Bradley Beal, KD, Damian Lillard, and you guys have struck out every single time. And in this offseason, where you guys lost 2 starters, we're looking for a player to bring in such as Damian Lillard, who looked like he wanted to go there. You still weren't able to pull the trigger. Now, again, we understand how in the front office and the NBAs and the GMs, how they work. It takes 2 to make a deal. But it's really unfortunate that they weren't able to make any of these deals, especially for Damian Lillard, because now, instead of him going to another team in the Western Conference, Damian Lillard is now going to one of the biggest rivals that you have to face in the playoffs that you're going to have to go up against, the Milwaukee Bucks. You look at what Jimmy Butler has done since he's been there in Miami: 3 Eastern Conference Finals appearances, 2 Finals appearances, and you guys still can't get him in quality all-star caliber player in today's game to run aside him next to Bam. Miami, y'all messed up. Y'all messed up bad. Now y'all got to deal with Dame and Giannis and still deal with the Celtics. Like, Hey man, good luck. But that's enough about that. Let's talk about some of the other teams, the Blazers, who also picked up some guys. The Blazers again picked up Jrue Holiday, DeAndre Ayton, and 3 first-round picks. 2 are swaps and 1's an unprotected first-round pick. Now, to begin with this trade package, it is kind of underwhelming. For what Damian Lillard was for the Portland Trail Blazers over the past 10 years, what he still is in today's game, it's just not enough. And I think a lot of it is due to the fact that a lot of the trade packages that we've seen over the past few years, and due to the new CBA, a lot of these star players aren't going to be going for super high picks like we've seen before. Like the Rudy Gobert trade, where there was like around 5 first-round picks. Or the James Harden trade back in 2021 was around 5 first-round picks. So we may not see that much inflation when it comes to star players getting traded. But when you look at what they got back for Damian Lillard, it's not necessarily bad, but I feel like it could have been so much more if they traded him earlier before it got to this point. But there's still some things to look at that are good. I think adding DeAndre Ayton to this team is really good. You look at your young core already. You drafted Scoot Henderson, you have Anthony Simons, Shaedon Sharpe. Now you add in DeAndre Ayton, who's 25 years old, who's a little bit around the same age group as your young core. He can build with those guys. And honestly, he was already having a lot of problems and drama in Phoenix. I think him coming to a new setting is definitely going to help his game and possibly bring out the most out of DeAndre Ayton. I also like to see what Scoot Henderson, your point guard, is going to be able to do with a big in DeAndre Ayton. Maybe they can build some chemistry and maybe go from there. Obviously, I don't expect this team to be one of the better teams in the Western Conference. And adding 3 first-round picks, especially in the latter years at the end of the decade, where a lot of the players on the Milwaukee Bucks most likely won't be playing. We don't know if Giannis and Dame will still be on that team at that time. You set yourself up well for that time to come. But also, which is a big news that we need to talk about, Jrue Holiday is going to be on the move. There's already been talks about him being looked at by the Miami Heat, the Philadelphia 76ers. So I think there's still a possibility for the Blazers to maybe flip him and still get back some assets that they can use to maybe add to their team. It may not happen right now. It could happen later in the season or maybe at the trade deadline, but I think Jrue Holiday is still a player that many teams are going to look at. If Jrue Holiday was available and the Warriors did not make that CP3 trade, the Warriors would be on the phone right now trying to get Jrue Holiday. That's how good of a player Jrue Holiday is. I know he's had some problems in the postseason. He's still a champion, has won championship games for the Milwaukee Bucks. I think the Blazers are still in a good position where they can flip him, maybe get something back, and I think it'll be a very good sign for them as well. And at the end of the day, they're rebuilding. They're a team that's going to be looking to try to learn from what they got in their assets, see if they can build and grow. And I think right now, with what you have, I love the young core right now with Sharpe, Scoot, Anthony, and adding Ayton is a solid young group to really see what they can do and build for the future. So not the greatest trade package, but I think there's some upside of what you guys can do with what you guys got back. And lastly, we cannot forget about the Phoenix Suns, the third team in this deal, who people are not talking about enough, who added in some depth in this deal. You look at the fact they added Jusuf Nurkic, Grayson Allen, Nasir Little, and Keon Johnson, while just giving up DeAndre Ayton. Now, we already know DeAndre Ayton before has had his drama with this team. There's going to be a lot of question marks on how he would be able to fit in with this team coming up this year. But you look at the fact that they flipped DeAndre Ayton, and you add in the fact that you have Jusuf Nurkic, who I think, again, is not one of the greatest defenders in the game right now, but on the offensive end, allows a lot of versatility for the Phoenix Suns to do what they do best, which is score. When you have Kevin Durant, Bradley Beal, and Devin Booker. He's a great screen setter, can roll to the basket. When he's healthy, he's a very good center. Not a defensive center. Don't get it twisted. I'm not saying this guy is going to be the missing piece for the Phoenix Suns, but I think that if you look at a player like DeAndre Ayton and can flip him for guys that you can add in to your team on the roster on the depth side and replace him with Jusuf Nurkic, I don't think it's a horrible deal. I think it's a smart deal, especially when we knew that this team was going to be one of the best offensive teams with their big three already, and adding in some more guys who could fill in, especially in a long 82-game season, adding some guys here and there, I have no problem with it. The Phoenix Suns facilitating this trade, taking Damian Lillard out the Western Conference and then putting him into the Eastern Conference. Many people will question it due to the fact that the Milwaukee Bucks did become great. Damian Lillard is no longer in their conference, and I still think that the Phoenix Suns are now one of the better teams in the Western Conference that you still have to look out for. If you look at my video back in June when that Bradley Beal trade first happened, I questioned if they would have enough depth on their team. But over the past few months, they've been slowly adding in some guys here and there to where this team looks like a really complete roster at times. Not the greatest defensive roster, but when it looks to scoring the basketball, they can do that. They still got some question marks. They got to prove it to be in the regular season if they can get a defensive sound unit. But the Phoenix Suns are a team that I think a lot of people are sleeping on, especially in this trade. And I think that them adding in some extra guys on their team that are going to have to fight for spots training camp and leading up to the regular season, I like what they have. But they're really building a complete roster around Kevin Durant, Devin Booker, and Bradley Beal. And that's dangerous if you're a fan of any other team in the Western Conference. But again, Damian Lillard is now Milwaukee Buck. I know it's crazy to even say it. There were times we didn't even think Damian Lillard would even try to necessarily run from the grind, but it was time for him to move on, and I'm happy that he's going to be playing on a team and playing for championship success because we know how good of a player Damian Lillard is. I think it's going to be a lot of pressure for him to try to uphold what they gave up to bring him into Milwaukee, because obviously the goal is to win a championship, but I think it's going to be very exciting to see what they do in Milwaukee. Dame and Giannis, freak time. I ain't gonna lie to you. It's going to be fun to watch them boys over there in Milwaukee. But what do you guys think about this trade right before media day, training camp? the season's about to begin. We about a month away from the season, bro. 1 month from the NBA season is about to be crazy. But what do y'all think, man? Let me know. Y'all like the trades? Y'all like what teams got, what they gave up? Let me know in the comment section. I'll be sure to check you guys out. If you haven't already, check out my Discord. If you were in the Discord, you saw the news when it happened. So look, go ahead and pop into that Discord. The link is in the description. But again, leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel. Appreciate you guys all for watching the video. And until next time, stay on beat.